Hey everybody, I'm David.
I'm Jess.
I'm the husband.
I'm the wife.
And we are married.
15 to life.
Good morning, honey.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
I hit the table.
I'm good.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you get all dolled up for me today?
Well,
Kinda.
it's either one of those days you either do your hair or you have to wash it, you know?
Well, and also at the time of this recording, you got big plans for tonight. You got a hot date.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking Nate to see Dogman.
Every single day. One more day till Dogman.
Oh, he's been counting down for like 10 days, 9 days. He's been excited about it for months, so I'm excited.
For those of you that don't know, Dogman is a funny kind of like...
It's like a comic book comic
book series book. Yeah, graphic book. There you go. Yeah, he collects all those. He collects all the Big Nate books. He collects all the, what is it, Catman?
Cat Kid
books.
Captain Underpants. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. But Dogman kind of started it out.
Yeah. Was Dogman the first thing?
Yeah.
What did he, before that was Dr. Seuss, right?
Yeah, like that was his first, like, I would call it like a big kid book.
And it was funny last night. I said, Nate, you want to go to bed with all 3 Dogman books before tomorrow? He's like, no, I must have variety.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
I love him so much.
I know. He's so smart. At the last recording, we gave you all play-by-play of his spelling bee. He ended up taking 5th in the whole school,
I
right?
know. And that's like, he's 7th grade, so he's the youngest grade there. And it wasn't just special needs classes. It was, all the school.
Yeah.
Dang Tsunami.
He's so smart.
Took him out. But he got a trophy and everything. He was really excited.
Did you mean that as a pun? The tsunami took him out?
That's a hard word.
It is a hard word. I misspelled it when you said spell it.
I know. Dave was like, oh man, he probably missed the PH. I'm like, honey, that's a T.
I know. I meant to say PS, like pseudonym. That's how I originally thought it was. And I was like, oh wait, no, it's TS. The English language, this is one of my running jokes. The English language is probably the most screwed up language on the planet because we have so many slang terms. Like the word hour can be spelled 4 different ways and have 4 different meanings. And so if you said that to someone who doesn't speak English, they'd be like, well, when you say hour in this context, it means this. When you say hour in this context, whereas other languages, they have one word for everything, which is to me, okay, it's twice the words or 3 times the words, but I'd rather have that than the confusion we have.
I don't know how we got here, but okay.
Because we're talking about misspellings and strange names, but also bragging on our kids a little bit before we get started. Lucy also got her reading results back. And where's she at?
She's doing so good. She's reading like on the 8th grade level, and she's only in 5th grade. So
yeah,
we have smart kids.
We have very smart kids, and Mark just continually shows us he's a ham. We had a fun week. We had what we called songs and s'mores, where we made s'mores around a fire pit.
All 3 of our kids are hams. They definitely did not get that from me.
Nope, they got that completely from me.
Yes,
100%. And yeah, I mean, it was a great time. We sang karaoke with our church people. We made s'mores around the fire. I played guitar out there by the fire a little bit, and it was the perfect temperature. It wasn't too cold.
Nice.
It was not too hot either. When you go camping, even if it's hot, you want a campfire. But it was perfect temperature for everything. It was a great week, and now we are here, ready to possibly close out I think we can do it. I think we can do it, but possibly close out our Deep in the Heart of Texas 3 parts of the 6 years we spent living in Texas. So let's pick up where we left off. When we left off, we were probably about 3.5, 4 years in, and we had really hit a groove. We had really hit a groove in terms of the productions we were producing and the leaders we were raising up under us. And it was a really interesting time, and it was a really fun time. The choir was growing. We started out when we got there, we probably had 30, 35 people.
There was that many.
Maybe around there. I mean, that's including all musicians, all choir members, all tech people. So I'm rounding up, probably about 35. When we left Texas, we probably had near 100 people served with us.
If you count everyone,
that served with us across all 3 services and all volunteer basis.
Like all the different people that helped with the set development.
Right.
And
also the as needed, call upon us when you need us crew. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there was a lot of people.
Which we called upon them very often. Because
it was a really rewarding time.
Yeah. We had a 3-car garage out on the property on the driveway that they would park 2 of the church vans in, but one of the bays was completely construction and was a workshop basically, where we had piles of wood and metal and paint and everything. And so anytime a production was around the corner, I would meet with the set team and we would start designing sets and ideas for things to build. And they loved it. They loved the idea they could come on a Saturday morning and get out of the house and come and, work on, props and set pieces and things like that. We came up with some really cool ways to innovate how to multi-use things. You remember the second time we did My Chains Are Gone, how Golgotha and the temple were the same set, and we just spun them around, that. Little things like that. We had some brilliant people. I didn't come up with that. I thought we were going to put a set in front of a set, and they said, no, let's just put it on the back of that one, so we can just turn it around, put casters on the bottom of it, just turn it. Yeah. And I was like, how smart is that?
It was awesome. Yeah. We had people that just did wardrobe and cotton, and it was just neat. It was a really neat experience. It was stressful. Yeah. Like around the time of the productions was stressful, and it's always like holidays. So
absolutely.
I remember like the week of Easter, like we never have had like a happy, relaxing Easter. It's always been like, no. Even now to this day, I mean, Easter's like a work day, so.
Well, and that's true of all holidays. And I think a lot of people sometimes forget that. They look at, and it's nobody's fault. It's just the way we are. They look at Easter as the time of, okay, we have family coming into town, or we're all planning the Easter egg hunts, and we're planning the lunch afterwards and all of that. And they forget, for the people ministering, that's a work day for us. That's one of our biggest. That's the biggest
like day,
that's like that. And some churches, maybe the Christmas season is bigger than the Easter season, but typically
in terms of like visitors coming and all that.
Yeah, there's just this thing of, I go to church on Christmas and Easter. That's the 2 Sundays I'll go to church every year. So if you do the math there, those are your 2 biggest Sundays probably of the year.
Like we always have to like work our schedule around when Christmas falls, like what day of the week. And so the holiday season it can be difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Something I was thinking about at this time was there was a moment about midway through our time there where something weird popped up out of nowhere we did not see coming, and that was the opportunity to go interview somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And we got a phone call from
How did that even, I don't remember.
There was a connection to me that said, hey, by the way, I want to let you know, there's an Assemblies of God church in Tennessee that...
This was before Lucy was born.
This was right before Lucy was born. This was right before
Nate was like 1. He had just turned 1.
This is right before we started looking for the house, too. We were still living in our apartment by the church.
I don't think we would have even considered it because we were really enjoying our ministry there, except we had been praying to move closer to home.
It was
it was very difficult traveling with Nate. We wanted grandparents closer, and we thought, if this is God's will to move us closer to home and we could be in Tennessee as opposed to San Antonio, Texas, how much easier that would be for our family. So that's kind of what made us interested in it.
Yeah, and it was not only closer, but it was more than the deep South, which is more of who we are and what we were raised in. So we thought we can, probably adapt easier and have a little bit more of connection with. We had formed so many friendships and so many connections, and it was becoming easier to live in Texas, with the culture change and everything. But it was just like, it's like you said, it's coming home closer. It's a little bit more like home. And so we got to at least look into it. And I did something that a lot of people even told me not to do. And that is, I went and told my pastor this was a possibility. And
I can't believe, there were so many people in our life that were like, you shouldn't do that because you're going to get fired.
Right.
But how are we supposed, because what happened was they talked to you on the phone, you had a couple of phone calls, and then they wanted us to come out on a Sunday.
Right.
And it's like,
which is, of course, normal. They want to see how you do in your job on a Sunday.
So that means we're going to have to not be at our church on Sunday.
Which means people are going to wonder, where is David at?
And we're not going to, for one, what if our church saw us on their social media? I mean, and so we're like, we can't just covertly sneak off to Tennessee and tell the church we're going on vacation or something.
It's like the whole thing of, would you rather come out and tell your loved ones that you have a sickness, or would you rather all of a sudden end up dead one day and they didn't know? It's like, how much do you tell people? How much do you,
weird
okay, you did, or you accidentally dented the car. Let's go lighter. You accidentally dented the car, and you just hope your spouse doesn't see it. I mean, at some point,
we just really felt like if this was,
you're right, that was a little too dramatic.
I'm like, neither one of those really fit. But it's just like, we are not going to lie for one and be like, oh, we're going home to visit our family, which we weren't.
No, we weren't.
Like, we're not. There's nothing we can say that's going to sneakily and. There's
not even a half truth we could tell here.
But everybody was telling us, like, and we're talking about like family and friends. We're saying, well, if you go in there and tell them that you're possibly considering another job, like, they're going to fire you. And what if it doesn't work out? Then you're going to be out of 2 jobs. But it's like, we knew in our heart, no, like, we have to be honest about this.
This is where I come back to. So many people, they try to be helpful to you. And even people that are very, very close to us were saying things like this. And it just comes back to, do you trust God or not?
But this is the thing. Church ministry is different than the business world. And so people that only have dealt in the business world, you wouldn't do this in the business world necessarily.
No, of course not.
Like, you could go on an interview and it not be, but like we've talked about, the church interview process is a whole different animal.
It is.
It's more intimate. It's longer. It's not something that we could just be like, oh, we're going to go interview and come right back and no one would ever know.
Right.
So, anyway, you did tell our pastor that.
Yep. And it was awkward. I'm not going to lie. And, going off of a lot of what we talked about in previous episodes, it was definitely kind of a, I think at that moment, our relationship did change.
Well, and we were at a really good time. So it's not, I don't think they saw it coming. And I don't think
we didn't see it coming.
No.
We didn't go looking for it.
And he pretty much told you like, please, like, I don't think this is the right time. But because you had some really good conversations, we felt like, is this God moving us home?
Right.
That we felt like we have to just go see.
We have to at least try.
Even though.
That's exactly what I said. I said, Pastor, I don't want this to come and go. And I never
and us wonder
if this was God and we missed it. I said, if you were in my chair, sir, what would you do? And he, of course, he kind of covered it all with, I would be happy where God has me.
Yeah.
But he also said, if you feel like you need to do this, go do this.
Part of me wishes we had it.
Me too.
Because it wasn't the right time. But then I'm like, well, if we hadn't done it, would we have always wondered?
Right.
So, I mean, you can't go back and change things, but we went out there, and that was that really weird, awkward interview we talk about.
Yeah, where they put us on the 2 stools and lined around us like a circle firing squad and shot questions at us one after another.
They were really nice.
They were.
And there was
it was just the most intense questioning process we've ever been through.
That's the most intense interview process we've ever been.
That's the one that gives you PTSD about all following interviews, probably.
I really don't like the interview process in ministry. It's now here where we are here, it was so much better. Like, I felt like by the time we came here, we were already pretty much like, we knew it was a God thing on both sides. So it wasn't that pressure.
Right.
But this Tennessee interview was really intense. It was really intense. And this was the only time we actually stayed in the pastor's house, which they were very sweet, and it wasn't as awkward as it could have been, but that was unique. Like, we've always stayed in a hotel or somewhere else, and we had Nate. So I think what we did was my mom and dad came and got Nate and took care of him at a hotel, because I'm like, Nate was like 1.
Right.
And like, with the interview and all that, like, there's no way, and sleeping at someone else's house, and he's in a crib and all that. So they took care of Nate that weekend.
Time for a shout out. Both sets of parents have been lifesavers to us.
I don't know what we would do without
through the
them.
entire interview process of every church, every transition.
Usually, like, my parents or your parents, one would come with us to interviews and take care of the kids, because like we've said, there's a lot of things me and David both have to do.
They are paying for you to be there minimum 2 days, and they want as much time with you as you can.
It's not like, oh, let's meet for a few hours and then y'all can do whatever you want. Like, it's very much intense. And so usually if it's where they can, one of them will come and watch the kids while we interview. And then every time we move, either your mom and dad or my mom and dad will come and help us move and help with the kids. And I don't know what we would do without them.
100%. Go ahead and get your drink of water real quick.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
We go through the Tennessee process. It was great time. But like we said in the first episode, we didn't feel peace. There was never that velvet cushion feeling of this is right. And we got on the car and we got back on the plane and flew back to Texas. And we both kind of looked at each other and said, I don't think they're going to take us. I don't think it's going to be right because neither one of us feel it. And sure enough, that was the case. And so then I looked at Jessica and said, now that we know we've been through this, let's sink our roots deep. And we started looking to get a house.
Yeah. We got a house. We actually went and picked out like the property, and it was like one of those like cookie cutter type neighborhoods where you just they pop them right up.
Absolutely.
But we were so proud of it because
I would love to go back and see how many more houses they've built in that subdivision.
When
now.
I visited Jen a couple years ago, because it's been like 4 years ago now.
She took you over there?
Yeah. And you can't even imagine how different everything looks.
It's like a whole city over there probably, huh?
Man, it's grown up. You remember how our neighborhood used to kind of be out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
It's not like that
anymore. It was
anymore.
all centered around that lake that was there.
It's not like it's so much different.
It's deep in the heart of the city now.
We would have definitely outgrown that house before long. It was a 3-bedroom.
I think our house now was bigger than that one was.
Our house now is the biggest house we've ever lived in.
Oh.
Yeah.
I keep thinking Indiana was a little bit bigger. Okay.
Yeah, this house is a little bigger than that. So anyway, yeah. I loved that house. It was so neat after renting it wasn't that many years, but we had been in several different apartments. At that time, I think we'd been in 3 in our whole marriage, and then we moved to a house, and it was just neat to have your own house, And
I came back into Pastor's office as soon as we got back and said, Pastor, it wasn't God, and I really appreciate you letting us do that, and I want to let you know we're looking for a house because we want to be here for the long haul. We really want to commit, and the look on his face was really refreshed and thankful to hear that. But there was something planted there that just became part of our relationship, which is now you've done it once, will you do it again? Well,
and I think there's always, especially in that position, there was so much turnover and stuff we said. And so you just know, and they knew that we had family that was far away and all that. So I'm sure they knew it wasn't going to be forever, So, but after that, after we got the house, that is when what we're talking about happened. The ministry just took off. We felt
we committed to the Lord and to ourselves. We're going all in.
Yeah.
We won't think about it. We won't go looking. We won't entertain phone calls. We are here until God moves us.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I've stressed to people. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with one of our lead team members who I help mentor while she's with us. And I spoke to her and said, you have to have that attitude of you will not quit. Only God will move you. I said, there will never be a time I will get frustrated or angry, walk in and throw in the towel and say, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And I wish pastors would hear me when I say this. And I don't care if you're young or old. You don't make the decision. God called you. God makes the decision. You submit, even in the face of adversity, even in the face of a disagreement. In fact, submission doesn't begin until there's a disagreement. When there's a disagreement, that's when you make the choice. This is how I'm feeling, but I won't be led by what I feel. I don't walk by sight. I walk by faith. And I'm going to trust that God has put me here. And until God makes the way to take me out of this place that I'm in, that's why I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to serve faithfully with a good attitude as long as I possibly can. When you do that, God will see your faithfulness and see you in the midst of your circumstances, and God will orchestrate you needing to leave if you need to leave.
And that's how we've always approached it.
Yes. And I'm so thankful we learned that the first time.
Yeah.
And not the second, third, fourth, fifth time.
Once we had that one interview and we were like, we're going to let God do it next time.
100%. And just don't forget, we called family ministers that we trust and sought their counsel, and they would say things like, then why are you still there?
Oh yeah. When we would have issues we don't understand what's going on.
And guys,
we're unhappy with
not surface level complaints, deep rooted. This is not a good thing y'all are facing right now. This is not healthy. Y'all need to get out kind of thing.
Like when we first, we talked about moved to Texas, and it was a very different culture, and it was hard, and it felt like people didn't want us there. And we would call and get advice from other ministers and other family, and they'd be like, well, why are y'all still there? Look for somewhere else.
Yeah. But there are churches everywhere that we'd love you to have you. We know people that would love to have you.
Right. And I get that.
Yeah.
But like we said from the beginning, we knew God called us there.
Yes.
And so if God called us there, then He's the one that can move us.
Then God has to call us away from there.
And that's why we entertained the interview, because we didn't go looking for it.
No, it came to us.
That Tennessee interview came to us. And so we felt like, is this God?
Right.
But after that, we were like, you know what? We're not even going to do that again.
Right.
We are going to wait for our leadership at our church to move us or them, we are not going to go around looking for something else. When it's time, God will make it clear to both sides that it's time. And that's how we've always, I know people are like, wow, y'all have moved a lot in ministry or, whatever. It's not been us.
Nope.
God has moved us every single time.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we come back, we get our house, we move in, Lucy comes around the corner, and we now we are a young family with 2 kids. And right around that time, we're not going to do the whole autism episode. We've done that already. But we find out Nate's been diagnosed with autism.
We get him into the public school system. He goes to a special needs department, preschool.
Yeah.
And that was a really awesome time for us. I mean, it was hard.
Yeah.
But we had been worried for so long about Nate and known like something was going on. So to have like actual things we could do to help him.
Right.
It was hard to like go to the IEP meetings and realize there was issues and he needed different therapies. That was hard to hear. But at the same time, I felt like I was doing something to help him.
Absolutely.
And he, from the very first day, loved school.
Yes.
And he still does.
He loves school.
So he went.
Every single day, Jessica will say, Nate, you want to stay home with me tomorrow? And he'll go, no, I want to go to school.
It's like a joke now. I'm like, oh, you're going to stay home and cuddle with me tomorrow, right? And he's like, no. He's so offended.
I love it.
But he's always been like that.
Yeah.
And he just loved it. And we went through the process of actually getting him formally diagnosed in San Antonio. And we had to go through that whole thing. And as hard as I always thought that would be, and it was hard, it also gave us so much insight into him and so many ways we could help him. And so that was really great. I mean, that was also a really great thing that happened in San Antonio was him getting officially diagnosed, him starting therapy, him starting school for the first time. And so, yeah.
100%. Yeah, it was definitely a transition. And again, if you want to go and watch back all of our special needs story of the diagnosis and how we both reacted to it and what we've learned about it since then, and there will probably be further autism episodes down the road, no question about it, but probably one in April for sure, because April is Autism Awareness Month. So we'll probably definitely talk about it more then.
I think it's May.
I think it's April. I think it's April 2nd. It's Autism Awareness Day.
It's May.
You might want to look that up. I'm almost positive it's April.
Because I always do videos in May about autism awareness. Anyway,
you tell us in the comments what it is. But I'm going to Google Go ahead and look at it right now. And when you tell me I'm right, then we'll talk about it. But because I cannot wait to hear those famous words. But no, it was very.
You're right. It is April. But I think that autism.
You are right. You are right. You are right. You are right. I'm just kidding. No. Because I always remember it's April Fool's Day and then Autism Awareness Day. It's always the day after. Right. So, yeah, and it was a great season. The choir began morphing and changing from a show choir to a worship choir, and that was something that I really prayed through and said, God, I don't want the choir songs to be sit back and watch us and be entertained.
Right.
I want it to be engaging. I want at any moment what we're singing is a song you've either heard it on the radio, you own the CD this song is on, and you can jump to your feet and lift your hands and worship with us. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to be an extension of And I literally wanted the frontline background singers to literally be an extension right in front of the worship choir, to where there is no we're the elite singers and they're the backup singers. No, I want it to be we're just stepping out of the choir.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you think about things like that, how it changes the mentality and changes the culture of the people that are involved. And so we really worked hard at that to let people know this isn't the select group that gets to do everything and you guys just show up to practice and maybe we'll sing a song on Sunday. No, it was we are all a team. You are so vital to us. And I stressed to them, look, you guys in the choir are what the congregation is going to connect to, because they don't hold microphones. They don't play instruments. They're not on the platform. The closest thing to them is you. So if you model what worship looks like, they will come up to the level you come up to. And it changed and shifted everything. Around that time was when
we started doing 2 services, right?
Yeah, right at that time.
Yeah. And so we were, I mean, it was amazing.
Do you remember the intensive process even you and I went through in the planning of, especially
how are we going to have 2 different teams?
Right.
of everybody.
And in the 30 to 45 at the most minutes we have between, how is this going to switch and change back?
So when we would have one service, we would have a sound check before, like an hour before, so you could practice your songs, go through everything. Well, when there's two services,
the second group doesn't get that.
The second group doesn't get that because it's immediately switch over.
Yep.
And so we had to have them have a separate practice, like on Thursdays, to make sure they could like practice through their songs and stuff. And so planning all that out and realizing like we can actually have two teams where we're not having to have people there two times in a row.
And we made it a point to then stress to ourselves, we are not going to fall into the trap of this is the A team, this is the B team. We're not going to fall into that.
No.
Because again, the signals you send to your people, whether or not you intended, that's what they receive.
Because usually the 11 o'clock service was fuller. Usually,
and had a younger audience.
Right.
Younger people sleep in and come later.
Right.
They just do.
I don't think we ever had that vibe. Everybody really just pulled together like a team, and we would have people that would, this week they're on 9, next week they're on 11, and we had just such a great culture then.
Well, and here's a random idea. We went to them and said, "What service would you rather attend?
Mm-hmm.
What service would be easier for your schedule? If you're the person that loves to come back at 6 o'clock, then I don't want to make you come back right after 11 o'clock because then you've just sang from 11 and we don't get out of church till almost 1. So you know what? For you to go and grab a quick lunch and go home and try to get a power nap and change clothes and come back at 6, that's hard.
Yeah.
So if that's difficult for you, then let's not do that. If you'd rather be at the 9 o'clock service, then is it okay if you come at 9 o'clock and then you're done at 10:45, and then you can go have lunch, take a nap, and you can come back refreshed and ready at 6 o'clock. And we really tried to do our best to
remember what we would do because
take
we
every
had
person
to have
individually.
We had to have the choir there both services. So the people,
no,
yeah, we did
at the beginning, but then we changed that.
I know, but what we would do is after the choir sang, if they had already been. Like usually the choir would just be done after that second run through.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So because
that was very short-lived.
Yeah, but we did that for a while.
Short-lived.
And if a lot of times there would be a special choir like that day where we're previewing a performance coming up or something for Easter.
Yeah.
And we would do that again. We would have our whole choir there twice.
That was the compromise that Pastor and I said, Pastor, it is too much on them. It is too much on them to make them.
We did that for a while, though.
To make everybody come to all, because here's where the thing was, parking. Because if everybody's there for both services, why do you even have two services? You're just having church twice.
Well, it was just the choir, though. It wasn't everybody.
But seriously, the choir was 35, 40 people. So that's at least 25 more cars.
I'm just telling you, we did that for a while.
We did it for a while. But it was short-lived. It was minimum 6 months.
But what I'm saying is even right before we left, there would be occasional times where they would go,
like the week before a production, we would do it 2 times.
Yeah.
Yes, and they were okay with that. And then my thing to them was, okay, because you were in the first service and heard the message in the first service, when the special in the second service is over and worship's over, when you guys exit the stage, y'all can go home.
I feel like this is boring.
No, but people, this is the mechanics of what it means to be. We talked earlier about we had these puzzles we had to figure out. This is what it was. When you turn around, okay, the battery's in your microphones. Who's going to change them?
Well, and just okay, we got to have people that can serve in the sound booth twice, and people, so it was a lot to work out the kinks.
And that's why I'm so thankful, and I will forever be indebted to Planning Center. Planning Center, for all of you that are wondering out there, it is the best church planning software in the world. We've used it for well over a decade, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it allows you to schedule people, and they can accept or decline it, and you can kind of see everybody, organized.
And they can go in and block out, we're on vacation, or I have to work, and all of these things.
Because, you don't think about it, but just imagine trying to schedule everybody's separate schedules and everything they have going on. It's just like a nightmare. Remember when you used to have to do it by yourself with a calendar? It's hard.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
And so, just having that software made it so much easier. And we really people began to fall into the groove. The first couple of months were growing pains. People were like, oof, maybe, I said I wanted to commit to the 11, but you know what? I'd rather come at 9. I'd rather come at 9. A lot of times people would kind of mix it up. Oh, we have a birthday party this day, so we could come earlier. So we it was like a cool flexibility type thing. And eventually we got to the point where, again, you show understanding. I want everybody at every practice 100%. But I said, look, if you cannot make the practice and you're scheduled for the 9 o'clock, you'll get the sound check before. if you're scheduled for the 11, you have to be at the practice. Otherwise, somebody's going to have to take your place because you don't get a sound check.
Yeah.
And you don't get that run through time. And so I wanted to make sure that we were at least fair to people.
As crazy as it was, it worked out really well.
It worked out really well.
Yeah. We had great time.
And I think people respected, and this is something else we've learned. You think people want you to just be one of them. They want a leader.
Oh, yeah. It's just like, not to compare it to kids, but kids want structure.
Yes.
Parents that have no structure, we don't have a bedtime. We don't have a, discipline even.
No.
Kids want that routine. They need it.
Right.
And it helps them feel safe. And I think all of us are the same way.
100%. Even if you're adults going on a trip, if the leader looks and says, you know what, let's just do what everybody feels. You just said, let's have chaos.
Oh, yeah.
There needs to be a semblance of, okay, this time we're doing this. In the afternoon, we're doing this. Between then, y'all can do whatever you want. But at least there's a semblance of structure.
And we really brought a lot of organization in.
Yes.
And so it's like, I hate when you're going into a practice
and no one has a clue.
And the leader is just kind of like, and it just
what songs y'all feeling tonight?
Yeah, it just wastes time. And it's like disrespectful of their time. So we would come in and we would have like this, everything ready to go.
Yes.
And so I think people really appreciate that. We started having childcare at our practices.
And we would pay the people that did it.
And it was
because it was a priority.
Because we really wanted them to be able to come and not have to be chasing their kids around. It was helpful for us.
Yes.
And that was such a great time because I really got to serve alongside of you for those times because we had childcare and I was able to do that.
100%. 100%. Around 2015.
And also around 2015, I started my YouTube channel.
Yes, you did. 10 years of Blessed Jess.
Why in the world did I do that when I was already stressed out to the max?
Because you needed an outlet.
Yeah.
I
was kind of losing myself in motherhood.
You were.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was when the pain of it was post the interview, post getting the house, post the stress of all of that. But the intensification of what we talked about in video 2 about your role and if being a mother is enough. That's when that really started intensifying, and you needed a place to go and talk to God and talk to people.
When Nate was little, I had a blog. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And it really helped me just to have like a way to get it out, just like something that was just mine. And so I liked it okay, but I'm not a big writer.
Me neither.
I'm good at it, but it's not something I super enjoy. And everyone had been telling me I was really good at the video announcements that we did. And so I remember coming to you and saying like, what if I start a YouTube channel? You were like, that's a good idea. Because I used to watch YouTube all the time.
And this was right when this is the beginning. We could name some channels that a lot of you out there might be like, wow, I know exactly who they are. But they were baby channels too. And they were
YouTube was totally
the idea
different.
of walking around holding a camera and just showing your everyday life was just so random. I used to watch
every single day because I'd be up with the kids all hours of the night. Right. I would watch Daily Bumps, Ellie and Jared, and Cullen and Katie. I would watch them every day, and I watched them every day for years.
Yes, you did.
And and I still watch them sometimes. They don't really do daily vlogs as much, but just being able to like see their family and what they were doing and how their kids were growing, I just thought it'd be cool to have that kind of documented. And I just thought, I love watching our home movies of when we were growing up, but imagine having like an edited video. It would be forever.
And literally our kids can go back and show their kids and their grandkids Blessed Jess channel as long as hopefully it stays on the internet.
Well, and
we can see all this stuff.
Our home videos growing up was normally like a special holiday or vacation.
The day-to-day life of the little things.
The day-to-day life is what I wish we had more of.
Yes.
To remember like what was an ordinary Tuesday when we went to school and came home and it's so neat. I love everything we get to do on YouTube, but that's like my favorite thing is we get to have these memories of our kids. I still go back and watch when they're little, And
it's been such an evangelistic tool. It's been a great way to help people.
Didn't start out that way, but
no, it started out as therapy.
God's grown it.
And God's used it, which he always does. And that's why I know for a fact God put it in you. It wasn't something you came up with for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Blessed Jess starts, and
I'm not filming very much back then. I didn't have enough time.
No. But and you found your rhythm and you found your niche and you found where God wanted you to do it.
I started out doing like grocery hauls and just like talking and occasionally showing the kids and what we were doing. But it wasn't like anything like it is now.
Yeah. Now you know exactly who you are and exactly what to do. And I love watching your channel. I watch your channel
He does watch it like every day.
Every day.
I'm like, why are you
It's
watching
amazing
this?
that I watch the woman I'm in love with and love seeing her.
I don't like hearing, like, I will edit it and all that, so I obviously watch it.
That stuff doesn't bother me.
But when I come in and he's watching it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't watch this. I don't want to hear
I'm
it.
different. I'm an editor and I
mean, I do edit it, so I watch it then, but.
No, what I'm saying is I listen to my sermons back sometimes.
I can't.
Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. But the main thing is I listen for it back to find what I was saying that I don't remember. Because there are times I'll listen to my own messages from months ago and I'm like, what did I talk about when I preached that? And I'll hear myself, but also I'll hear God.
Yeah.
And there'll be times like, I don't remember writing that down. That was definitely not in the notes. That had to have been all Holy Spirit. And I don't even know where that came from. That's the stuff I go back and listen to.
Yeah.
And that's why
I don't like going back and listening to anytime I do anything like that at church because I like criticize myself too much.
Yeah, but long time ago, the Lord told me you can't do that.
I know.
You got to get over
It's
that.
hard.
Yeah, and I learned how to get over that. Now I could listen to myself all day long. And I know that sounds terrible, but it's a place God's got me to, which allows me to hear Him and not me.
Yeah.
And that's what helps me. So whether it's a podcast or a song or
usually
sermon,
I'll come in the bathroom in the morning and David's watching. Bless Jess.
or either that or I'm listening to my Bible.
Yeah, one of the
whichever one. Yeah, but it was great. 2015, I did feel the shift. There was a lot of the pain of what was going on with you and between the ministry roles. There was also this thing I started feeling, and I couldn't even articulate it at the time. And it took me about a year to put my finger on what it was. But the thing I started feeling was I've hit my ceiling. And that's a real thing. And I began thinking to God, okay, God, I'm entering into autopilot. I'm entering into this is just what we do. And I would be, and the way I knew it was starting to happen was I would start bringing ideas that were desperately needed when we went to 2 services, because now it's adapting and changing and transitions and team building and all of that. But now about 2015, we've hit our groove. We've had 2 services for about 2 years now. And I'm starting to bring stuff and it's not clicking. And and the conversations are becoming more just please keep doing your job. And
David, I remember this. You really, if you saw a need with the children's ministry or I mean, we would see things and be like, "Ooh, we want to help with that. Like, this is an issue. We want to help with that." And
I've got leaders under me to handle my normal stuff. And now I'm at a place now where I can help other people.
And it wasn't well received.
No.
It was like, no, we've got somebody to do that. You go back over there.
And let me express this. If your ministry functions well that way, where everybody stays in their place, but everybody knows they're part of a team and the best way to help each other is to do their job to the fullest, I completely understand that. That's not a good work environment for me.
Yeah.
My best work environment is everybody talks about everything. And if anybody hears something in the room and says, hey, I know how to help with that.
Because, it's just like...
It's the body of Christ helping each other.
It brings me back to like The Office.
Yes.
Okay. That show is the way it is because they had a very fluid working, the actors could say something to the writers. They were all there together. It was a team effort. And I think when that happens, you end up with a better product at the
100%.
end. Because you have everybody's input and you're not like, oh, I'm the writer, so you go back over there and don't say anything to me.
Right.
And that's kind of how we feel about ministry. We're all better if we all help each other.
Absolutely.
And not like an ego thing.
No.
We were young parents. We saw things that not everyone else saw.
Absolutely. Legitimate concerning things.
Yeah.
If you're not a parent with young kids, you will never ask these questions or think about these questions.
Yeah.
Or maybe at one time you were a parent with young kids. That's been 20 years ago. And a lot of needs that parents have today are different than they had in the 80s. And you need to address those things.
Yeah.
But because you personally don't have little kids, you don't ever think about those things.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so the same is true with me. It's the thing of even now, please hear me. If there's something that, let's go with The Office. If there's something like, well, should the text be in Times New Roman or in Arial? The cast don't need to have a weigh in on that. It don't matter.
No.
But if it's something like, well, should Pam's character sit like this or like this? You know what? I think Jenna Fisher needs to answer that question because she knows her character.
Yeah.
And so in the same way in that with the church, if something comes up that even touches barely the kids ministry or the youth ministry or the outreach or whatever, if youth need to be involved, the youth pastor needs to have a voice because guess what? He or she's the one that's going to go motivate those teenagers to get involved. And so they probably need to be in that meeting. Yeah. And I've just always been that way.
And we always wanted that.
Yes.
I wish we had it. And I remember that being like like a desire was, I wish we felt more
like a family.
like a family. And we never really had that with the staff.
No.
I mean, everybody, it was nice and we loved each other, but we didn't like hang out. We
No.
didn't like, it wasn't that type of thing.
No.
You know, it was very much like, this is your job.
Yeah.
Stay there, you know?
And, you know, that starts at the top.
Yeah.
And we discovered very quickly that the pastors we served under did not want that.
Yeah.
They wanted to separate work from family. They wanted to go home and see their family and come to work.
And I totally get that.
I completely
I
get
totally
it.
get that.
Especially when you've had turnover and people have hurt you.
Yeah.
Then those guards go up. I don't want to let anybody
And honestly,
in close again.
there was a lot of years with us that
Yes.
I wanted space.
Yes.
You know, when we were going through hard
completely
things.
get it
So
now.
I understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, looking back, I completely get it now. And we have been through a lot of therapy with God and with each other, where we look back now and go, the things we were angry about, I so forgive it now because
yeah.
I get it completely.
And it wasn't even like we were angry. We wished it was different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were angry at the situation, not at the people.
Yeah. We just were like, you know, I wish we could all sit down and work, you know, work out these kinks and not feel like we're only in our boxes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I call it silo ministry. Everybody works in their own individual silo. And on a farm, there's all these silos. It's the corn silo, the grain silo, the wheat silo, whatever. And then the silos never touch each other, but they have their individual purposes. And the only person that touches all the silos is the farmer. And so that basically was kind of the mentality that we were in the middle of. And so I just began realizing, wait a second, I'm not going to be able to do any more here. Mm-hmm. The people that I have raised up under me, they are handling so much of the nitty gritty stuff. I'm now moving up into a leader of leaders role. And I wanted to explore not just helping other people in my church, but I wanted our church to move. I wanted our ministry. And again, serve your pastor, serve your pastor. I was seeing things that I'm like, Pastor, let me do this for you. Let me take this off you. Let me handle more of these things. Let me explore this for you.
This was around the time that we had a lot of conversations of you had been doing creative arts and music. And we knew at this time, like you had some teaching, like you've been able to teach on Wednesday nights and some Sunday nights and stuff like that. And you were starting to realize, oh, wait, like I'm not going to be doing music forever.
Right.
I think God has put lead pastoring, other, you know, something else. I feel like what I'm doing is not fulfilling me enough.
Right. And I was hoping that the answer would be, let's explore that. Let's see what we can do about that. But the answer was, I'm not interested in talking about that.
Yeah. So it was very much like, well,
stay in your lane.
What do we do from here? Because either, you know, I remember us feeling that like
we felt trapped.
Yeah.
And again, not the people.
No.
Not even the pastors. The situation had trapped us.
Yeah.
We just knew this culture.
But again, we're not going to leave.
No.
At this point, we have a house and a mortgage, and the thought of just leaving.
No.
Like, what do we do? Like, not have a job, and not how are we going to sell our house? And what? So there was, and Nate's in school. Like, we wouldn't have ever just left.
No. And so we did what you're supposed to do. We put it before the Lord and said, God, you see it. You're not blind. You see our frustrations. You see our feelings. You handle this.
Yeah.
Just like you handled the people that were trying to hurt us and get us fired, you moved them. The people that were making us miserable when we were trying to lead them, you moved them or you changed their hearts. God, we trust you. You've proven yourself time and time again. If you want us to expand into something, then Lord, you change the situation. Or if you want to move us, then Lord, you move us. Mm-hmm. In the first week of 2016, Jessica and I always do our words for the year.
Yeah.
And I came to Jessica and said, the Lord has spoken. Our word this year is transition.
I did not want to hear that. As much as I felt all the same things you were feeling, and we didn't know what transition even meant either.
No, because the whole thing was one church, two locations. They were about to break ground on their second location.
So we're like, okay, well, is that
maybe we're finally going to get to move into an associate role, and I'll be able to help with both campuses, or maybe I'll be reproducing.
But change is also terrifying to me.
Yes, absolutely.
And the thought of, well, what does that mean? I was like, well, that's not my word. I don't remember what my word was.
And I fully intended on it meaning what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
We were in. We had no intention of moving. We had no intention of quitting. So when the Lord spoke to me and said transition, I said, okay, I need to prepare myself that I will no longer be a creative arts pastor. I'm going to be something else that helps with the facilitating of both campuses. There will be a worship pastor at this campus and a worship pastor at this campus. Maybe I'll oversee both of them, and I'll help I'll move up into being the pastor's left hand at the least, right hand at the most, kind of thing. And then around first week of March.
It wasn't either.
It was
because we told everybody at the end of March, and we had like 3 months before we told everybody.
It was February.
Yeah.
Then it was it was late February or first week of March. But I got called in. I got sat down. Did not see this coming. But he said to me, Pastor David, the board and I have been talking, and we feel your time here is done. And I did something that shocked him. I smiled and said, I know. And he did not expect that. He looked at me with like, how does he know something that only I on the board know? Because we serve the same God, Pastor. That's how. And I spoke to him and said, that's fine. God's got this. And he said, you're going to have 3 months. You're going to plan out as best you can and prepare our church for when you leave, that it can carry on after you and Jessica have left. You will finish out through Easter. And then our objective is that probably around the first week of June will be your last time. And in all that time, be looking for wherever God's taking you. And again,
the ministry is so different, because if this had been the corporate world, they would have said,
clean out your desk.
First of all, they would have had meetings before saying, this is what you're not doing. This is what you want you to do.
Right.
Then when they fire you, they would say, this is all the reasons why we're firing you.
Right.
You don't get that in ministry. You don't get, or if like you do something really wrong.
Right.
But this wasn't that. This was just, we feel like your time here is over. And how do you argue with that?
No.
There's no like...
There's no rebuttal. You can't change their minds.
No, and there wasn't like, we don't like how you did this, and so you're being fired. It was just, we feel like your time is over.
Right.
There's no reason except for the feeling.
Right. And again...
Which is frustrating.
And something we've learned since then, if they don't want you there, don't fight for it.
No. Yeah.
You're only doing yourself a disservice. Yeah. Don't fight for it. If they don't...
Still to this day, I don't know... It had to have been God, because I don't know anything.
God. It was 100% God.
I don't know a reason for them to even feel that way. Because like we said, we had huge ministry blessing and success there. And so for God to change their heart that drastically and there not be a reason for it,
right?
That had to have been him.
It was 100% him.
Yeah.
It was 100% him. And so you
came home and told me, and I freaked out. We were immediately sworn to silence until after Easter, because they did not want
the morale of the people to dip, because so we had 2 months to keep our mouths shut and not tell anybody this was happening.
It was the hardest thing in my life.
While building Easter sets, while writing a script, while directing and rehearsing.
Looking around going, we're going to leave all these people.
Right.
It was awful.
Right.
I think I cried. Probably people knew something was wrong with me, because I think I cried that whole 2 months.
Yeah.
Every service, everything, I just bawled.
And the hardest thing for me was continue investing and loving people while knowing at the same time you need to begin slowly detaching, so that the pain of when you leave is not, you don't want to be head over heels in love with your spouse and then wake up one day and say, I want a divorce. You don't, because then they're like, why? We're fine. Well, there's been no warning flags here.
Your analogies are awful.
But seriously, we had walked with them for 6 years.
I know.
They were family.
I know.
They were family, and to all of a sudden be hit with we're done. Why? There's been no warning signs. There's been no stress. There's been nothing going on. There's been no turmoil. The team's great. Morale's great. Why? And I had people meeting with me privately going, please tell me why. Please tell me why.
Well, you're kind of jumping the gun. They met with you after they found out.
Right.
But we had 2 months of no one knew but us and our family.
What I'm saying is now at the point we did finally tell them.
Well, so at this specific church, how they did it when people left was they would tell everybody at once.
Right.
So they would call you up onto the stage after church and they would tell everyone, which, okay, that's fine. Except that means our team is finding out in a very shocking kind of way.
On camera.
Well, I mean, I'll say that.
No, yeah.
I don't think that's the rub. I think the rub is...
I'm just saying it's as public as it can be.
I'm just saying it's not us being able to tell them in our own way.
Exactly.
Now, a little thing that I did that was I had to do it, was Jen had told me, my friend Jen, my best friend, she had told me years before, because she knew how they did this public thing. And she's like, if you ever leave, do not do that to me. Like, you have to tell me. But we had also been told, like, if anyone finds out, you are in big trouble. Like, we were sworn to secrecy.
The exact words were, if this leaks out to the congregation before it's supposed to, you'll be terminated immediately.
Yeah, with no pay.
With no pay.
So, which is just such a crazy thing. Ministry is so crazy because, again, there was nothing we did wrong. It was just they were ready for something new, I guess.
And by the way, this isn't every church. This is not in the handbook. This is the way this culture was.
Yeah.
So, because we've served in churches that handle this very differently.
Yeah, I guess. But
no, we have.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in future states.
Anyway, so I waited till after Easter because we all wanted to get through Easter. And
it was like 2 weeks after Easter.
I didn't tell her ideally. I did tell her, but it was kind of happened in a text accidentally. I asked her to meet with me and it was on her birthday. I don't know what, y'all, I was in a whole bad place.
Yeah, you were.
I was in a bad place. I knew I needed to tell her. It was her birthday. I don't know what I was thinking. And I was like, just find me after church. I want to talk to you. And she was like, are you leaving?
Yeah.
I was like, well, crud.
Yep.
So I told Jen and I swore her to secrecy. I'm like, you can't tell anyone. But anyway, then we did that whole thing where we stood on the stage and just to see everyone's faces, it was awful.
Yep.
It was awful. Like, just feeling like
tears everywhere. Everybody
was so upset. We were upset. We had to do it twice because it was 2 services.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard. And people are asking us like, well, where are y'all going? And we didn't have an answer. We didn't know.
No.
We didn't know. And it was awful.
That was the hardest thing. You want so bad to say, Lord has opened up this door for us. We're moving here. Or you want to say, there's been a situation where we need to go home or something like that. It was no answer to anything.
There was no reason
and we
for
could
it.
not say the true reason.
Yeah.
We could not say it because then that brings it back on the situation at the time.
Right. We didn't want to say like, well, and I think that we weren't even supposed to say like, well, they asked us to leave.
Right.
It was just, they're moving on in their ministry. We feel like their time, that was the line.
Right.
And so.
Which in God's eyes is true.
Yeah.
And in our eyes is true. But in that moment, you can't say that to people.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand that.
Yeah.
So.
And we wanted to do things the right way, as hard as it was. If the church wanted us to do this, like we weren't going to.
No, we
go
submitted and
it.
did exactly what we were told
and
to the letter.
And we knew that God had our back.
Yes.
We knew that. Like we had said, like if God, if this is your, if you're allowing this to happen, then it's because you have something else for us.
Yep.
As hard as it was. Our house, we didn't have it long enough for it to even have enough equity to even be able to sell it.
We had to do a short sell on it, and we lost money on it.
Yeah, we lost a lot of money on it. It was awful.
But God repaid all of that back.
All of it.
Miracle
and we had,
upon miracle.
Because of that short sale, we had, and thankfully it wasn't foreclosed on, but a short sale is almost as bad.
Right.
Because of that, we couldn't buy another house for like 7 years or something. So when we were going through that, it feels like, God, have you forgotten us? Like, What did we do wrong? Now we have this black mark on our short sale. And then, how are we going to find another church?
In a spiritual sense, we went from Potiphar's house and now we got put in prison.
That's how it felt.
It really felt that way. And the situation of leaving and not being able to fully understand why was, that was the trigger for me. And it's funny how I could lay Joseph's life on top of it, and it felt like season, like literally. You had the season of blessing, everything's going well. Yeah. Then this snafu happens with a certain person that you don't understand why is this happening. You're trying to do everything right, and then it ends up getting you in trouble, and then you end up leaving, and so it literally felt exactly it felt just like that. And we did our best to spend as much time with them as we could. At the same time, preparing the people, saying, "Okay, David does this every week, and now you're going to do this." And we tried to leave it better than we found it, which I believe we did. And we ended up staying there until the first week of June was first Sunday of June was our last Sunday.
I remember
in 2016.
So your mom and dad came to help with the kids.
Yep.
I remember our last service, and we got done, and the house had already been packed up and cleared out, and your mom and dad had the kids. They had spent all day helping us at the house, getting everything out, cleaning it, everything. And I remember wanting to go one more time to that house. I needed like the closure of like seeing it empty and leaving. And that was one of the hardest nights of my life.
Right.
I went room to room crying. I mean, those were we had so many memories in that house.
There was a moment Jessica was standing in the middle of the living room and she cried and almost yelled, "This is my house. This is my house."
I brought Lucy home from the hospital in that house.
Yeah.
And just to feel like we were leaving and I didn't understand why.
We were mad at, and let's just be real. We were mad at God.
We felt like,
as much as we prayed for this.
Yeah.
This was my thing. And this is the only time I'm going to say this forever. We were mad because we had asked God, if you're going to move us, then you move us. But I said, Lord, not this way. This is not what this is not the.
It felt unfair.
It did.
It felt so unfair. It felt like everything we had was being ripped away from us.
Why couldn't you have positioned a church to call us that had everything mapped out? That would have been like, of course, this is God wanting us to take this job.
But you know, like so many times in life, you just have to trust God even when it looks bad.
100%. When you get thrown into prison, God, are you still watching?
I remember I cried my eyes out at that house.
Yes.
I remember you like dragging me out because you're like, this is not healthy. You've got to get out. And I remember us being like, okay, like let's go. And the next day we left. We decided to go back to Alabama and wait because we had
nothing.
We had nothing, and I'm like, we have this house that we now can't pay the mortgage on.
And we looked and sent stuff out and nothing was right for us.
Well, I mean, it seemed like it was forever, but it wasn't very long that we started getting,
No, what I'm saying is we were allowed to look while
and we even went to Georgia, a different church, not the one we ended up at, right before we moved.
Yes.
And we interviewed with them and we loved the church.
Yes.
I think we were also just wanting something to happen.
Right.
But we loved the church and we loved the pastors and they made us wait for like months to give us an answer.
And then nothing happened.
It just
I completely forgot about that church.
Yeah.
We really liked it.
We really liked the pastors. Like I really felt like, okay, God, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
This is why you did all this. And we would have time to move and everything before we have to leave. And it was like crickets.
Yep.
Crickets.
Yep. God literally made us just wait for the right opportunity. And it was a lot of,
we put all of our stuff in my mom and dad's garage.
Yep. Just sat there in boxes
and
for like 4 months, 3 months.
We just moved in with them and
I did odd jobs for your dad and a little bit of online work trying to make ends meet. Your channel had accrued a little bit.
I don't think I was making any money.
I don't think you're making hardly any money at that point.
Honestly, I don't know how we got by there. I don't know how we survived.
Grace of God.
Because you don't get unemployment.
Nope.
With ministry. I don't know how we financially got through that. I really don't.
My parents and your parents helped us and God was faithful.
I mean, they helped in terms of like giving us food and a place to live, but like we paid our cell phone bill and our insurance and stuff like that. I don't know how.
Right.
Because we had no money.
Right.
But God took care of us.
He took care of us. So that's in a nutshell, that's how it ended. I wish the ending could have been better. I wish we could have ended that part of this on a high note.
And I remember saying goodbye to Jen and really wondering if I would ever see her again. I mean, we were such close friends, but now we were going to be who knows how far apart.
Yeah.
That was really hard.
So, in a nutshell, it's
kind of a bummer way to end it.
Well, that's why we're not going to end it that way.
Just stay tuned, guys. The story does get better.
That's why we're not going to end it that way. So the way I want to end it is let's talk about some of the great things that we had while we were there. Some of the perks of living in San Antonio. Let's stay within the thing. There are songs that when I hear them in my playlist rotation, or when I hear them on any kind of mixed play mix on Spotify, I feel like I'm back in that sanctuary again. You tell me a couple that if you think of them, but like I'll tell you right now off the top of my head, Great I Am.
Oh yeah.
That was one you brought to me.
David knows now to listen to me.
I do.
But our very first few years together, I would come to him and be like, I'm telling you, this song, and he gets used to people saying this to him all the time. Like,
Yeah.
and so it kind of would irritate you when I would say this.
Well, also, I'm thinking through the filter of, will my pastor let me do this song?
And you just
how
were
hard is
like,
this song to learn and play?
And you're like, you don't know, like, I'm the music person. Like, but when I get a feeling about a song,
yeah.
now you trust it. But
100%.
for a while, you were like, I don't know about
I've only been
that.
married 2 years. I hadn't learned to listen to you yet.
But there's been songs like I would go home and visit and hear a song, or I would just hear a song on the radio or whatever. And I will come to you and be like, this is the song.
Great I Am was one of them.
Great I Am was one of them.
What's another one? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Overcome.
Oh, yeah. That was early on.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the first ones. Yeah, that was great.
One of
King of Glory.
One of the first songs I led, one of the only songs I felt comfortable leading was You Are Good. Was it?
Yeah. And Your Mercy is Forever.
Yeah.
Carrie Job. Yeah.
I sang that.
Great song.
Probably more than any other song I sang.
Me and Jennifer with Running.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that song. I love that song. Revelation song was an anthem for us. We drilled that one into the ground and had like 3 different singers who did it. But man, that song was an anthem 100% for us. There was several more. Lino Cooley's More was a big one. We ask for more of your power. That was a big one. We really enjoyed that one. There was so many that I could think of, and then there's production songs that of course my chains are gone because it was the name of this production. So also Oh the Blood, and Break Every Chain.
Yeah,
that was a big one. That one it hit hard at that time.
Well, because and too, like we did that whole production at the end where everybody told their tesmonies, and then we sang "Break Every Chain." It was so powerful.
It was so good. Chains falling. I hear the chains falling. It was so great. Do you remember anything before we get to food and activities? Do you remember anything in terms of like your favorite place to just go and watch, or your favorite place to go look?
I loved going to the Riverwalk.
Of course.
I know that's like so touristy
Cliche,
or whatever. But if you've never been to the Riverwalk in San Antonio, it's just the neatest place.
It's so unique.
It is. And it's beautiful. And there's shops and restaurants and stuff all along it.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to go down there too often because it was downtown and you got a park and all that. But man, it was just when we did get to go, I loved going to the Riverwalk.
Me too. It was great. All right, let's go fun now. Favorite restaurants. Now, of course, we're in Tex-Mex world, which is Jessica's heaven, and she loves Mexican restaurants. So I'm going to have
the food in San Antonio, the Mexican food is so good.
So let's start with Mexican food. Jessica, let's combine. Let's try to come up with maybe our top 5 favorite Mexican places to go
I don't
eat.
even think I need that many.
Oh, come on. Yes, you can.
My favorite was Alamo Cafe.
Of course. Their salsa is dynamite.
Spicy. And when I was pregnant with Lucy, I craved it.
Yes, you did. That's how I knew she was having a girl, because she wanted spicy stuff for her.
Of course, Mamacita's.
Yes. Love Mamacita's.
Mi Tierra, downtown.
Yeah.
If you're ever downtown.
Mi Tierra's is where you want to go.
It is the quintessential like San Antonio Mexican food.
Absolutely.
Papacitos.
Yes.
That was didn't we live closer to
Mamacita's was right around the road to the medical center.
Yeah.
And then Papacitas was closer when we lived on the other side.
Those were like my 4 top ones. I also liked, where was that place that had like the warm salsa? Remember?
Oh, good grief. You had to bring that up. I forgot.
They had like a whole chip bar. You went up and got it yourself. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But yeah, I know.
Mama Margie's.
Yes, Mama Margie's. I love that place.
That was like a fast food type place.
And then let me round it out with Tiago's.
Oh, yeah. But Tiago's, I don't think of it as Mexican, although it was, because we were obsessed with their burgers.
Yes, their burgers that's one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life.
It had good Mexican food too, but the burgers.
Yeah, it was a very unique way of cooking
like
them.
Monday or something, they had the burger special.
And they had unique chips too. The chips were like puffed.
The chips were like Doritos, not seasoned, but just Dorito texture.
But they were also airy.
But like I'm saying, you know how Doritos have those puffs of air? It was like that.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
We ate a lot of Mexican food.
We did. Let's go non-Mexican. Of course, Rudy's Barbecue.
Yeah.
There's a chain in Texas that has that. It's really, really good.
It's good, but I'm not a huge fan of Texas barbecue because I just don't like the beef.
It's closed now, but Lulu's Cafe.
Yeah. They had these giant
famous for the 3-pound cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Big Lou's Pizza. Oh,
yeah,
my gosh.
Big
We've
Lou's
got
pizza.
pictures of this. The
Giantest
Big
pizza.
Lou 42 inch wide pizza.
And it was the barbecue pizza that we
Oh,
loved.
so good.
So
Well,
good.
if we ever come back to San Antonio, we are going there.
You're like, if we ever go to San Antonio, we're just going to eat the whole time.
It's going to be a cruise again. We're going to get just fat eating all the favorite
The
foods.
food is so good. Like
Yeah.
anytime people go to San Antonio, I'm like, how long do you have? Like,
My first time going to an Apple store was in San Antonio.
Really?
That's a heavenly place right there.
what I love about the Mexican places, the Mexican food in Texas, even like HEB and stuff, they all
don't forget HEB.
They all the grocery store. They all
Yeah.
make their own tortillas. So you
Right.
sit down to eat, and they bring you out tortillas like
Yeah.
rolls,
Fresh made tortillas.
And they would bring you butter. Oh my gosh!
And because it's Texas, almost every single restaurant has something brisket or barbecue related fixed in. So brisket tacos or brisket nachos or brisket
I don't know that we ever do
burgers. Or I'm just saying, there's a way they worked in barbecue almost every single place you could eat.
I don't
because
know, not like the straight up Tex-Mex places didn't.
well, it depended on where you were.
Alamo Cafe was one that had like different kind of stuff. They had like chicken fried steak and different stuff like that too.
Yeah, I know. I loved La Cantera. I loved walking at the
La
outdoor mall.
Cantera was like a big outdoor shopping center.
That's where the PF Chang's was.
The only thing
and all
like
that kind
about
of place.
San Antonio that was hard, it was just so hot.
It was
so anything
hot.
outside, there was so many times of the year it was just almost unbearable.
Yeah.
But
But
I remember us taking the kids to the zoo a lot. We had the zoo
San
membership.
Antonio Zoo Pass.
It
Yeah.
was very hot most
Yeah.
of the year, but still, like when we could go, the kids loved that.
Six Flags over Texas in San
The-
Antonio.
The very first year we lived there, we had season passes. My mom and dad got us season passes.
and I remember waiting in line for 4 hours to ride that roller coaster, and then
It was so funny because they wanted to ride this roller coaster. It was you and my mom and Tim, my brother.
And about an hour and a half in, we're like, "Well, we've been this far. We're going to wait it out."
And me and my dad-
I'm not kidding. It was at least a 3-hour wait.
Oh, it was
at
long.
least.
It was like over 4, because me and my dad don't ride motorcycles, roller coasters.
You don't ride motorcycles either.
So we were like finding other stuff to do, like trying to go to different shows and all this stuff. And we're
Right.
like, what in the world is taking so long? I
Yep.
mean, we waited forever.
And then it was not worth the wait. It was okay, but it wasn't great.
So then you learn, like we would go, I remember like we would get up early on a Saturday. We would go to Six Flags. You would ride like a few roller coasters and because we had season passes.
And we got there early enough where season pass people get to go in a few minutes early. And so I would make a beeline to my favorite 2 rides, and I'd get to ride
And
them
if
like
you
2 or
went
3
there early
times.
enough, you could ride several things before
Yeah,
it got
and you
crowded.
could ride them 2 or 3 times
I didn't
each.
ride hardly anything there. That's what I don't like about Six Flags. It's not like Disney World. There's not a lot of like
Entertainment. Yeah, there's more.
well, even like rides that aren't scary. I mean, it's mostly
Right.
roller coasters. So
They're not scary. They're fun.
I don't like them at all.
Yeah, I know. You don't like the feeling of not being in control, and those things drive you
It's
around.
not that. I don't like that adrenaline like rush. I don't like it.
I love it.
I don't like it.
I love it. I
So
love it. Yeah.
I would do it. I would go with you and sit on the bench and watch you go. It would make me nervous just to watch you ride them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we didn't have kids, so we could do stuff like that.
Yeah. Remember when our first theater experience of having reclining seats?
Remember the Alamo Draft House?
Yes.
The
You get to
Alamo
eat a
Draft-
full-on dinner while you watch a movie.
The Alamo Draft House is a movie theater / it was like a full restaurant.
Oh yeah, there's more theaters out there now that do that, but this is the first time we'd ever seen one.
Oh yeah, and I haven't seen one that does it like that. Like okay, like AMC or whatever will have it, but this was so much better food than that.
Yeah, you sit down. There's basically a bar in front of you. You're in a chair in front of a bar. And they come and take your order, and they say, "What do you want?" And then during the movie,
You can like turn this little light on. They'll come
Yeah.
back and give you refills
Refills
or
or-
different foods you could order. And the food was so good.
it was good.
We used to do that for a date night all the time.
Yeah.
We would go see a movie there, and the tickets weren't any more expensive.
No, you were just
And
you were just paying
the
extra
food.
because you're eating dinner there.
Yeah, but
So-
I mean, and they would have like popcorn with like they melted butter and like brought like it was very much like
Yes.
homemade stuff.
Yes.
It was really good.
It was great.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I love that.
And of course, we had several military experiences for people in the military. My first military funeral I got to do while I was there
Remember, you got to sing the national anthem at
the
Cindy's,
Alamo.
at the Alamo.
At the Alamo.
At Cindy's retirement.
That was
service.
huge.
Nate was 5 weeks old. He was, or maybe not even that. He was just a few weeks old.
That was
He
huge.
was like 3 or 4 weeks
Because
old.
Cindy got to request something, and so she requested that the national anthem be sung by me. I'm standing in the Alamo singing the national anthem. I will never forget that
It
moment.
was so cool. And Nate, just having him with us in his little seat, he was just a few weeks old.
It was so cool.
It was such a neat experience. And just getting to go, we went to the Alamo several times.
Yeah.
And getting to just see some of the history of that city was really neat.
San Antonio. We
If you ever get a chance to visit San
we said
Antonio,
it in the beginning. It's the jewel of Texas. It is so beautiful. It is, again, it's hot. Go in the temperate time of the year in the early.
So hot.
Go in January, February, or
tell you
go in
lots of
November,
stories
December.
about being pregnant
And we
and-
never got to enjoy the Riverwalk at Christmas because we were always busy.
I know.
So
Yeah.
I miss it.
well, like
Maybe we can go around
both
Christmas season
of our
sometime.
babies were born in well, 2 of the 3.
2 out of 3.
Were born in.
Sorry, Mark.
No, I said both. Like we only have 2, but you know what I mean. Like our first 2
Yeah.
were born in San Antonio. I had the best doctor there. I miss her
Dr.
so
Schwope.
much.
Shout out to Dr. Schwope.
Oh man, I missed her so much. And we weren't even like, when you make an appointment, they're like, who do you want to see?
Right.
And we're like, we don't know. And so we're scheduled to see someone else. And then we had our miscarriage and she was the doctor on call.
Yep.
And she was so amazing to us and everything. So I was like, I'm sticking with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she delivered both of our babies and just so many memories of living there. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, guys, that wraps up our Texas adventure. And we hope you guys enjoyed this trip down memory lane with us. We have finished it. We did it in 3 parts. I thought it might take 4, but we did it in
We
3.
could do it. I knew we could do it.
And I'm excited. This one was probably a little bit longer than the other 2.
I'm sorry
but
for the bummer way it ended, but it gets better.
No, it does get better. But again, we want to be honest with y'all and truthful. And as always, Romans 8:28 is exemplified here. God worked all things together for good. And that's good for them and good for us. Their church is in a better place now. Our church is in a better place
And as
now.
hard as it was, like, I'm so glad that it happened.
Me too.
Because it led us to
It was
where-
all God.
It was all God. And it didn't feel that way.
No.
It felt unfair.
But later on, we realized, God, I wouldn't have done it differently. I'm glad it
Yeah.
went that way because it needed to happen. And,
Yeah.
and God worked it all together for good. So again, I'm so thankful you guys came along with the journey with us. If you're watching us, Jessica's having to get us
Be
in.
real.
I love it. All right, y'all are gonna be real too. If you're watching us, if you're listening to us on an audio podcast platform, make sure you give us all 5 stars and leave comments and follow the channel, subscribe, and share it with somebody else. Jessica, you know what to do. Tell them what to do about YouTube.
If you're watching on YouTube, definitely it helps if you will like the video, leave us a comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when we post a new one.
Awesome. And everybody, next time in the next couple episodes, we will do another Q&A. So submit your questions in the comments or email us at married15tolife@mail.com so that when the Q&A episode comes, we have plenty of stuff to talk about because we want y'all's questions. Until next time, I'm David.
I'm Jess.
I'm the husband.
I'm the wife.
And we are so in love and married.
15 to life.
Y'all have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You